What's up, homies? We've been getting a lot of people talking good things about the new podcast. Today, we're going to be covering. In fact, I just wrote this shit down. I was like, if you were to start a real estate business today, Jay Dow, and I got 5 questions. So, we're going to talk about like lead gen systems, your team, and that's VAs, realtor partners, TCs, editors, that kind of thing. Who do you surround yourself with? People, brokerage, all of that, and post closing. Plus, the funniest is before we open this, you're like, man, I went back and read Gary Keller's book. I'm like, hold that thought because we're going to talk about I think that is going to be an awesome topic today. It's just like going forward now with everything that's happening with NAR commissions, everybody marketing, where are you going with it? But first, last episode, we talked about your first or no, a lawsuit or something, wasn't it? And then what happened with that?
Oh, it wasn't a lawsuit. It was just that the $1 million listing that
Yeah.
the buyer's agents or the buyers were trying to terminate, or basically like all the chaos with that whole situation, the foreclosure. So we said that we couldn't release that episode until after June 1st, which we waited till then because that's when
Yep.
the deal was supposed to close. So just a quick update. When we were going into that weekend, the buyer sent over a termination contract it was actually on like Tuesday, asking for all their earnest money back. And we didn't sign it. We just ignored it basically. And then the sellers they got their lawyer involved, and he sent a letter to the buyers saying that, we're going to be there on the closing day. They better show up. And the buyer said, did you get our request for compensation or for the
Yeah.
earnest money? He said, yes, we did, but we're not signing it. We're closing on this house. And then the buyer sent over another one asking for 50% of their money back. And the lawyer said,
Yeah.
look, we're not accepting anything. We're going to close. If you guys aren't going to close, then you're going to forfeit your earnest money. So then the buyer, which was also a lawyer, finally sent back an email saying, we are terminating this contract and releasing 100% of our earnest money to the sellers. So they ended up walking away from their 30K, didn't close on the deal, and
Holy shit. They just coughed up 30K.
they just coughed up 30K, dude.
You know what though? Like in a real sense of this, and since I don't act in the real estate measure once, it always felt like earnest money, is it's there, but you could always back out of it. And I think that's probably what the buyers thought, like, we could
Yeah.
back out of this.
I believe that too.
That's shitty, but it's nice. And I know I was following with you about it. You were really helping out your clients with this one too. So that's
The one thing that I learned through this whole process actually, and this actually is like one of my things I was going to talk about on the things
yeah.
people agents should be doing, is it's really okay. The thing that drives me the most crazy in real estate is when your broker always says like basically like the buyer seller needs to get an attorney. And like they'll say that all the time when things start getting a little rough, or they'll always just try to take the easy way out, in my opinion. And I totally get that. But the one thing I learned is that the lawyer said, the contract supersedes basically everything for the most part. And yes, there are laws and rules in place, but it's really how the contract's written. And so you do have to follow the bounds of the contract. And so he actually was like, dude, he's like, I've never seen a contract. He goes, I've never seen someone as organized as you, but he's like, I've never also seen a contract written this way.
Mhm.
So he's like, you did an amazing job at protecting your clients. And it's very black and white. There's like no gray areas. So when we were writing this contract to begin with, when the buyer wrote it, he like wrote it in a lot of gray area. And so I rewrote the counter offer to be very black and white, because I always know that there's like little trigger points. And so like in my own mind, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if I was on the other side of this deal, how would I be getting out of this situation? So the buyers could have basically sat on their hands and not like, I think they could have tied it up for a long time and probably got something if they waited.
Yeah.
But they were in communication. She was a lawyer. But then the other part to that too is they are running a risk of getting sued for specific performance. So I think the easier way out was just to pay up to 30 grand and get it over with.
Wow. What does one take away from this in the sense of like we think of real estate as the only way to get deals is by marketing and getting out there, but does this like create kind of like shockwaves or waves out there to your clients who speak about you, you know?
Oh, dude, it's crazy. Like even this lawyer. like he's like one of the top lawyers in the city, and he's like, I want to go to lunch with you.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, sweet, let's go, dude. And he's like, thank you for helping me out with a lot with this. And I made it like I tried to make it easy for him, but I wasn't making it easy for him. I just like didn't want the sellers to spend, 10 hours paying for 10 hours of something that could take an hour if something was already like clean and clear.
Yeah.
And so uh it was just one of those things. Now we have uh a reputation per
Right.
se, and even the sellers have said multiple times to me, like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I've gone. It's funny because now I'm asking the sellers and the buyers that I work with when it ever comes down to a legal dispute to like, please write this in my Google review.
Right.
Like, please include like we had a situation come up that I was able to help them through. And I'm not a lawyer, and I tell them that straight up. Like, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here to give you legal advice. But what I do, I will try to put you in the best position in case something does happen. You know, hopefully nothing does happen, but I'm not trying to like put them in that situation. But like, dude, right out of the gate, whether something's is getting kind of weird.
Yeah. And there's been, we've been around these circles before, and there's loud realtors. There's, the ones that just like they're out there with their marketing, all that. But when you're around like the big, heavy producers, the ones doing a lot, they have this like keenness to them. This, they're just sharp, and I got a few examples in my mind that I want to say, but I won't give names. But when you think about if I were selling my house or buying a house right now, you're like, I want that fucking person. And it's mainly because it's just, it makes it so easy. So that is the good news, is like when you have these agents, you just call them and you're like, I want you. I want the best.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I was thinking about this, like when you go on listing appointments, it's funny because even when I interviewed agents before I got into real estate, every single one of them said the exact same thing. They
Mm-hmm.
all said, "Oh, I've got the best marketing. I'm going to put your house on 600 platforms. We're the only ones that do this. We're the only ones that do this. We're the only ones that do this." And I'm like, the last three agents just said the same thing. So actually, when I went into real estate, I was fully prepared when I went on to listing presentations. I'd always say, I'm not going to do what every other agent says, because everything that the last three agents just told you, we're going to do all those. We're going to do the websites, the professional, I said photography, like these are all minimum standards. They're just telling you what the minimum standards are.
Right.
What you're really hiring me for is my negotiation skills, my communication skills. Do I have a few things that are additional beyond what everyone else has? Yes. And I'll tell them exactly what those are. Do you feel that your house is going to sell for a set price, or do you feel that your house is going to sell for a range? Almost all of them say, oh, it's the Zestimate or whatever the number is they have in their mind. Well, the only way that you're going to get that is by hiring the best agent.
Mm-hmm.
So what has these other agents done to get themselves in the position to get you that number? So when the market's red hot, getting that number is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But when the market is cooled off, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So like when you think of a for sale by owner as well, and they put their house on the market in a hot market and they get one offer at the price they wanted, they think they won.
Yep.
But if they would have hired an agent, they probably would have gotten 50 more offers and sold it for 100,000 over list and all the things.
Right. Yeah. So that leads kind of into what we're talking about today of like starting a real estate business today. And I do want you to like hit some stories of when you did start, because I think we could fast forward too quickly and go, if I were today, I want you to give me a real, like, yeah,
Exactly.
fucking
That's what
today.
I'm literally like, I'm going back before that. Cause like
Yeah.
when you mention those things, I'm like, dude, you're in the trenches already.
Yeah.
You haven't even dug your hole yet. And you're skipping to like, you're having a business going.
Well, let's fucking rip. If you were going to start a real estate business today,
Oh,
where do we
yeah.
start?
Okay. Well, and this is what I just came off the coaching call. And I told every agent, I said, if you were to interview all the 87% of failing agents in their first 2 years, I will guarantee you 100% of those agents never read Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I literally read that book 10 times before I got into real estate. I literally Audible. I used to drive to Bend for work, 4 hour drive every 2 months. I read that book multiple times on that drive, just listening to it. I wasn't reading it. I was listening to it.
Hmm.
Dude, that book fired me up. I started reading it again a couple days ago, because I'm like, all right, now that we're going into this transition and the market's like, slow for a lot of people, like what nuggets can I take out of this to like look for opportunities in our own business? Dude, instantly, like I'm on chapter 2 and I'm like already like, all right, dude, boom, golden nugget, boom, golden nugget. I'm like, if every agent followed this roadmap, they would be successful. even in today's market, because it always is. It's very, very basic situation. It's just like I said on the deals for buyers and sellers, 90% is all the same. It's the edge that's different. So
Hmm.
like the one thing that they were saying that really like got me going on that book was like, they said your first hire should be an assistant. Well, what is everyone's first hire, dude? It's a freaking buyer's agent. The first
Hmm.
person they bring on is a buyer's agent. They don't get their TC, they don't get their assistant. They go straight into that because they're only looking at how to generate more income. The thing is it all creates a bottleneck, and I'm guilty of that too. I don't have a personal assistant. I am the personal assistant. It's just I like things done a specific way, and working from home, I guess, creates a little bit of a
Hmm.
friction point with that. Um, but I think everyone should read that freaking book at least twice to start with. And that's exactly where I would start my entire business. And if you're a seasoned agent, I would go back and read that book today, especially going through
Yeah.
this transition.
It probably helps more now than it does almost starting to, because I could tell you like right out of the gate, there's going to be a lot of people who read it and get jacked up, and then you've got to be able to move on that too. So um, only a select few can really take that stuff and do it and apply it. It's hard. Like for me getting into it, you told me you're using this TC, which was, Sean at the time or whatever. Like you're just using, just don't, no questions asked. Had I have gotten in alone, I don't even think I would have thought of it. It would have been only how am I getting my next paycheck because I'm broke.
Yep.
Um, so what you're
Dude,
saying, like if you get into real estate today, or if you're a struggling agent, that's probably the first thing you're doing.
I just talked to an agent and he was telling me how had no time because he had 3 deals in escrow and I said, "Are you doing your own transaction?" Because he said, "I'm not like you. I don't have a big team. I don't have a transaction coordinator."
Yep.
And I said, "I can go into the portal right now and find 50 transaction coordinators for $350." He said, "I would never waste my money on that." I said, "How much time is each of these deals taking you?" And it averaged out to be about 40 hours. And obviously if transaction coordination work, it's probably, who knows, 12 hours. So anyways, let's just say you divide that number by 40 and it's $8.75. And let's just say you multiply that by 4 and take it down to 10 hours of work. So now you're talking about $32 an hour. That's what you're boiling your value down to, but it's preventing you from making the tens and 15 thousands. And that's why they call real estate the cash flow coaster, because you start doing all of this activity of working with buyers and sellers, and it takes you out of the stuff that generates the buyers and sellers, which is lead gen, and you start going on this cash flow coaster. You're up and down, up and down, up and down. And
Yep.
it doesn't, it's unhealthy, dude.
Why is that? Like boil that down a little bit more too. Um, and your video froze. I don't know if it's just you. Um, but it's that gap. Why do we think that $375 in our pocket is better? And then what is it truly like preventing you from doing? Because again, a new agent can think, oh, great, I'll use a TC, but what the hell do I do with that free
because,
time?
because this is the problem, dude. Anyone that has that mindset
Hmm.
automatically looks at this as a transactional business. They
Right.
don't look at it as a business. They're looking at it as a transaction, and they're saving every penny because they're living in a feared mindset. The reality is, and they're thinking that they don't have another deal coming down the road. So they're like, I'm going to save every penny I can from this deal. They're stepping over dollars and thousands of dollars to save $300. And that's what I said. I said, you're literally, I did the calculation of what he could do. And I said, you were literally missing $24,000 right here to save 350 bucks.
Hmm.
This is the craziest thing ever, but this is what happens. And I actually, in the red book, they say this: real estate is one of the only companies that you can start doing today to make money without investing a ton of money into it. So they talked about, like starting a dental practice, becoming a doctor, starting a restaurant. They give all these analogies and how it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. And real estate's not like that. And also, these people don't have mentors. They don't have coaches. They don't have anyone guiding them down the path to success. And that's why I'm like, dude, the red book is the holy grail of how to make this happen.
Hmm.
But the thing is also people don't even want to do it. They're part-time agents doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deals a year. And they're excited about that. And that's what I hope this NAR lawsuit does. I hope it cleans out all those people. And quite honest, those people have every right to be in the business. But I mean, are they doing the best job for their buyers and sellers? I don't know.
Yeah, and whenever you give the example or the analogy, of, hey, if you were in some deep shit right now, would you go hire the cheapest lawyer or the best
Oh,
lawyer?
I mean,
And that,
the psychos represent themselves. I mean, you can see that like when you watch those criminal shows.
so I mean, inevitably it is, um, it's nice to have the cream of the crop rise. And that's not just for agents, but for clients to get the best agents. That's going to get our reputation back out there to that we are worth these, commissions.
Dude,
Um,
so going back to that, like, okay, so if I was in the trenches, like getting started, not even in real estate, if someone's like, what would you do? And this is like when you're a
right.
seasoned agent, you should think about this too.
Yeah.
I take multiple
Even
classes a
more.
year. Exactly. So, dude, I just wrote the list out last night. I was like, I would read that freaking book. I would go to a negotiations class. NAR hosts them. They're really good. They're super good for basic stuff. But if you could take an advanced one, even better. I would learn how to get organized with emails and documents. So know how to work your Outlook or your Google emails. When you take a listing or working with a buyer, you should have a separate folder for documents, a separate folder for those buyers and sellers. So when you're doing emails, you can just drag those files into those folders. If there's contracts, save those contracts. Uh, get a listing tool such as Cloud CMA. You should have a professional listing presentation that's very easy to use. Uh, I know this sounds crazy, but you should read and understand every contract you're writing and understand all the timelines and understands what different provisions mean, what different timelines mean, what different contingencies mean. Um, I think everyone should have a mentor, and you should not spend your money on stupid stuff. And that's like actually in the red book, they talk about this. Is your money that you're spending a green light, a yellow light, or a red light spend? So what happens with real estate, and this is, we see this happen with our own agents, is they get bored when they're selling a lot of real estate. So then they start thinking they need to do something else because to get to where they are today, they put in 10 times the amount of effort. And that's why it's a pipeline business. So they put in all this effort and they think if they get to this level, they can put in 10 times more effort again and get it to 10x again. But that's just
Mhm.
not the way it works. The bigger you get, and this is why they say it, I think it takes 80 million in sales to become a millionaire real estate agent. So to net a million or whatever it is, it's like, or I can't remember, it's net a million, gross a million, give a million. That's the three stages of real estate. So I think they said you have to produce 80 million to get a million.
First 3 months in real estate, what happened with you?
Oh, I didn't sell anything and I was on a team and I was like getting really frustrated, but I was out there hustling. I was door knocking or not door knocking. Well, I did door knock and that was a waste of my time. But, and I didn't realize like
Mhm.
when you're door knocking, it's just to get, if you're going to door knock, you should just be putting people in your drip system. That's all you should be doing. I got hoodwinked. The first door I knocked on, I got a listing. And so it really set me up for failure.
Did you get that listing?
They said that I knocked on the door. It was for an open house. And they said, are you, I said, are you guys, I said, I'm Jesse. I said, I'm
Yeah.
hoping to open a house down here. I'm just inviting the neighbors to come down and check out the house. I said, oh, you're a real estate agent? We're actually looking to sell our house. Well, then
You're
the
like, this
team
is
I was
too
on,
fucking easy.
that's what, dude, that's what got me, that's what screwed
Yeah.
me up. So then I set up the appointment for the listing agent on our team to go over there and do it. And yes, they got the listing. I actually got two listings out of that neighborhood for our
No
team.
way.
Yeah, two listings, dude.
So that was your first 3 months. So were you feeling kind of a high at this point? Like this is easy, or were you starting to like, were your wheels turning a little bit of like, I can
Well,
do
what
this
that did is
alone? Like,
I was like, I'm gonna go door knock the city and this and that. And then
yeah.
so then that's why I said I got sucked into the trap. So then I would always go out and door knock every open house because what happened, okay, dude, I'm getting so far ahead.
I
So what
love it.
happened is so that got me screwed up.
Yeah.
And then like I was like, the problem was is they weren't listing, dude, tomorrow. These were like months down the road deals. So then what happened was is like I was like, now I'm like, all right, I need to find these deals, and there's all these people out there wanting to sell. So I was out door knocking like crazy every open house, which did lead to a lot of transactions down the road, I guess. And I remember I got a couple buyers too, but they I was ended up referring them off because they ended up buying somewhere else.
Hmm.
And but then I started asking the listing agent, like, hey, where's the hottest leads? And he said open houses and for sale by owners. And he's like, I wouldn't be door knocking, dude. And so I started like really paying attention to where I was putting my time. So then I started I started the open houses, man. I was killing it. And but then I started realizing I was setting all these listing appointments too for sale by owners. And they wanted me to refer them off to the listing agent on the team. And I was like, no way, that's stupid. And then I started realizing that the team was giving hot leads to the other agents on the team. And I asked them like why that was happening. And they said because I was generating all my own business. And I still hadn't closed a deal at this time, but I had all these like clients and I had offers going out. And when I found out that they were giving off hot leads to other agents, and they told me that was the reason. And they said that, they knew that I wasn't going to last on the team very long because I was like killing it at that point, not killing it with closings, but like, dude, you could see the activity was going and I was building up the pipeline fast. And so when they told me that that was the reason, I said, see ya. And I literally quit that day.
Really? How many months was that in?
That was 3 months.
So 3 months you quit the team.
And I
Now,
only had done one deal and I got one referral. Actually, it was crazy. I saw this piano for free in my neighborhood and I went to like ask the lady about it. And I was trying to get a listing and I didn't realize the house was for sale. But when I showed up there, I was just like interested in this piano to like see if she was moving. Cause I'm like, everyone gives away pianos. And she's like, oh, we already sold our house. We're moving to Kentucky. We're just under rent back. I said, oh, do you have an agent in Kentucky? She said, no. Boom. I said, let me help you find an agent in Kentucky. So I got a referral out of that. So that was the only deal I closed in that first 33 months.
no way.
Yeah.
Were you struggling at this point, like
Oh,
financially?
dude, I was really stressed out because I didn't save any money and I quit my job cold turkey. And then I took out a $25,000 loan on my 401k. And I said, if I run out of that money, because I said I'm going to close 6 deals by the end of summer, because I started in July. And then, dude, no, like July, August, September, I didn't close a deal. And so I took out that 401k loan for 30. It was either 25 or 30. I can't remember. And I said, I'm gonna give myself till I run out of this money and then I'll quit real estate if I have to. But dude, once I moved the brokerage and I had all these like deals in the pipeline, dude. Oh, dude, it was crazy. I started selling real estate like wildfire.
Yeah. So why was that at 3 months? What, like, did you
It was a
it
pipeline, dude. It was a
okay.
pipeline game. Like I didn't realize that at all.
But was
And
there a mindset change too of like, fuck it, I'm solo now. Now I gotta make it work. Or was it like, I don't know.
actually
I
the
guess what was
the
it?
greatest I think the greatest shift ever, honestly, was like developing my own scripts for sale by owner and then calling those people. Cause like before the team would always tell us like to use the combative scripts, like, oh, you'll never sell your house. You have to, I'm the best agent, like all these things. So then I just started using my old sales skills, wrote my own scripts. And then I just would ask the person, I'd say, hey, we can get your house sold at top dollar. And who knows, maybe I can cover your commissions. And they'd be like, cool, bring a buyer. Or then, bring a buyer is what they always said. I said, I'd love to bring you a buyer. Do you want me to bring you one at a time that's going to lowball you? Or do you want me to bring you the most qualified buyers, all the things? And they do, oh yeah, we want that option. I'm like, cool. I'll come over and show you today at 3 o'clock. They'd always say no until they said yes. That was the thing is like, and then also the other thing that made me real understand what was going on is sometimes they'd be like, oh, I hired this other agent.
Hmm.
I was like, well, you told me you were going to interview me. And then I said, how many people are calling you a day? And they'd be like 300. And I'd be like, they don't know who I am. So I'm like, all right. So then I would just call them every day. And then
Call
it
you.
would start to stick in their mind. They would start to remember me.
What would you say?
I'd do the same thing every day. I'd say, hey, what's up? I said, are you still selling your house for sale by owner? And then they'd say, yeah. And I'd say, great. What can I do to help get it sold? And then as soon as you said that, it would like lower their resistance because they're like, okay, this guy's on my side. Like, well, who is this guy?
And
And
then
then they'd
every
say,
day you started it like that?
oh yeah.
And they and then inevitably they save your number and they just like, hey Jesse, how are
Well,
you? Or
some of them would get really angry and then they'd
yeah.
be like, don't ever call me again. And then, but I sold enough houses where I just knew it worked. And I was like, all right, if this works with some of them, I don't need it to win all the time. I just need it to work some of the time.
So you
And then
said
so then in that January, actually, the January of the year after I got my license, so I started closing a lot of buyer deals, and then my pipeline was building up on the listing side. And then heading into January 2018, actually, I listed 6 houses on for sale by owner that month.
why that month?
Well, I'd had it in the pipeline, and people like just needing to fill enough pain, but also the everyone sets their contracts to expire in December. So like on dude, January 1st is like the Super Bowl of like cold calling.
So
So
I'm out
dude,
there
okay,
chugging 30 beers and you're drinking water and going to bed early.
dude, I will tell you, okay, if there's probably a couple agents that would understand this. I would literally get up. I would wait till midnight for my system to refresh with all the expireds and for sale by owners every day. And dude, I started noticing like patterns in these listings that were popping up. So I would literally get up in the middle of the night. I would refresh the system and I would look and see which came expired. And I would like jot them down on a piece of paper next to my bed really quick. So then in the morning, I would get up and I would like look on them on Zillow at like 5 in the morning just to see like, or in the MLS. And only the ones that only had an SW in front of them for Southwest Portland or Beaverton, because like I only wanted to work on those deals.
Yep.
I'd go in and do so much research. And then when I called the owner, it was like I knew who I was talking to.
Hmm.
So like I knew like if it was bad marketing, whatever it was, I knew what was up with with those houses.
And so then your job was just like getting to that pain point.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, yeah, I only sold a couple expired listings. It was mostly all for sale by owner, but the expireds, I didn't really like the expireds because there was a reason that their house didn't sell. And usually they weren't in a big hurry to get it relisted. And I was in a high desire to like get houses sold today. So that's why I like to for sale by owners and open houses, because those are the hottest buyers and the hottest sellers.
Yeah. And then we're still kind of touching on like the first 3 months, and you've been basically pounding negotiation, organization, and script. So like right out of the gate, what did like just like the negotiation classes do for you, your confidence, any of these conversations? Did it help you with these client like land deals or?
Dude, okay, so rewriting the scripts, like, okay, so the acronym everyone can pay attention to. So I worked for two high level sales training companies, Gallo Wine Company and Boston Beer Company, and both in the wine and beer industry are the two holy grails of sales training organizations. They both have their own proprietary sales systems. They're the most regarded, dude.
Hmm.
Not only in the brewing industry, but like in all companies in the world. Boston Beer is always up there. He actually developed his own personality test to like understand like well, he only wants specific sales reps with this specific metrics in their testing. And so I still remember when I interviewed for that company, I took this test and I didn't know about it. It's kind of like the disc exam. And they told me, my boss ended up telling me, he's like, oh yeah, when you took this test, we knew we were hiring you from the first day because you had this hook on your personality exam. And so they have this acronym called LAER, listen, acknowledge, empathize, and restate.
Hmm.
So like even when I talk to the agents today, I'm like, guys, I'm like, or even in personal conflict, like even with your spouse or someone else, I'm like, all you have to do is listen, acknowledge, empathize, and restate with someone to get what you really want. Like people want to be heard.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're repeating exactly what they're saying. So I'm like, if you really listen to people, they tell you exactly what they want to hear and you can, help them fulfill their objective. You know, when for sale by owners are brand new, their listing's brand new, everyone's calling them. They're like, I'm winning. I'm winning. Awesome. There's a path of pain in for sale by owner. And I knew after doing this enough times, you can tell exactly where they are at in their journey and how close they are to hiring an agent based on what they're saying.
Yeah.
So at first, they're excited. Secondly, the next step of pain is they start offering a buyer's agent compensation. The third step of pain is they start saying that they're going to interview agents and list their house in the next month. And right then, boom, it's game on. So you're like, all right, you're like, awesome. I had clients all the time. Actually, Jason at Mason
Yep.
Hill, he's like, I'm interviewing eight. So I called this guy all the time. And finally one day he's like, all right, he's like, I'm interviewing agents today. Like you missed your boat. I said, that's great. When you interview me, I said, you're going to see why you need to hire me. And so he's like, if you're here today at 3:30, I'll talk to you. And I'm like, great. So I went over there. I built my listing book right then, showed up in my suit, all the things. I used my the YouTube channel
Yep.
as like all the things. And, we don't use it for listings, but it's like great social proof.
Yep.
And people like went crazy over that stuff. And he ended up hiring me. And then now I've his other listing at like $1.89 million. So it's
Wait. And that I think he told me the story once. Didn't he call you and was talking about other agents or something? And then you were like, well, you called me. I'm on the phone right now or something like that, right?
he oh yeah, dude. Yeah. that's the thing is, so like every time I'd call him, he'd be like busy or like, I'm in my truck, I'm in this and that, that's,
Yeah.
all these things. Yeah. And, well, that's on the listing that I have now with him is, he said, he told me, he's like, the reason I called you is because of your social presence. And when you sold my house, he's like, you were the one, he's like, you told me exactly like what it was going to sell for. And
Hmm.
he's like, I wanted to list it high. We did. And then it sold at what you said it would for. And he's like, you always tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Like what, and I just heard this thing this morning where the guy was talking about agents buying listings. And he's like, that's buyers or listing agents telling sellers exactly what they want to hear to get the listing, like whether it's overpriced, so on and so forth. So going back to the listen, acknowledge, empathize, and restate, it's your goal as an agent is to help buyers and sellers fulfill their objective of selling and buying. And if the seller wants to overprice their house, and it's not going to sell it. So right now I'm in the world of not taking listings that are overpriced as long as the seller says they'll eventually go down to your price, because it's a lot of money. And I've heard too many stories now from the crash and also market shifts where people went bankrupt because they had 50 listings and they
Hmm.
didn't sell them. So they got, staging out there. They've got photography out there. I mean, imagine 100 listings at $500 a
Videos.
piece on
Yep.
photography, dude. That's 50K.
Hmm.
That's right to your bottom line.
Man.
So it's a very delicate situation, man. And it's great to get those listings, especially those high dollar ones, but it's a lot of stress. And even like talking to Jason, he's like, dude, you're into this thing for 100 hours at least. He's like, this is crazy.
Right now, like, okay, newer agent or an agent who did production and that has really started to slow down. Let's just say it's somebody who needs to acquire some deals. Like, what are you doing beside, I mean, obviously social media and video and stuff, but like what are you doing right now? And or
Uh,
I guess and rewind it too to like those first 3, 6 months now, knowing what you know now, what would you do today?
so this is the thing. It's all activity. And so agents want an instant result, but they
Yeah.
don't want to fill up the pipeline. So there has to be two. If I was an agent and you were like gun to head, you have to sell a house today. What are you going to do? I would be cold calling like crazy. I would
Who?
be hosting for sale by owners.
Okay.
If there's none out there, go and look at the crappiest houses you can find. Go do some door knocking, whatever. Dude, there's so much opportunity out there. There's okay. When I look in the market, there's 1,000 listings. All those 1,000 people had to sell. They all used an agent.
Yeah.
There is opportunity. It's the agents aren't doing the activity. So that's why I say when you're door knocking, your objective is just to get a lead in the system. Let your campaigns do the work. It's very rare that you're going to go knock on someone's door and they're like, "Hey, we're looking to list our house." Like that's what screwed me up. And so like even I talk to the best door knockers out there, they're like, I am literally just trying to get people into my system.
Okay.
So if I was looking to get a deal and you said gun to head, you have to get a deal, is I'd be cold calling for sale by owners and I'd be hosting open houses like crazy. And so what and it's just lead generating activity. The problem is I literally get this all the time. Oh, I do open houses and I never get a buyer out of it. It's like
Me.
because you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And so I will give you everyone on this listening for listening. I'm going to give you the best open house strategy in the world. So when I did my first year in real estate, I did 24 deals and it was 50% from for sale by owners and 50% from open house. So 24 deals. And then I did it again the next year. Or maybe it was, yeah, I went 24, 24, 30. So when I started doing the same thing and the brokerage was training me, they're like, oh, yeah, they're like, get in a sign in sheet and then have people sign in. And when they come in, you're going to use this script and blah, 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 blah. Well, what I started realizing is like, I'm like, just like the listing appointment and cold calling, everyone was doing the exact same shit. Dude, they do it because it works, but how many times you have to do that? I like to do accelerate. I like to accelerate everything I do.
Yeah.
And I know that if you can connect with someone, that it will accelerate the process so much faster. So I'm like, all these people are coming to my open houses. They all say they're working with agents. And then you have to use this stupid script to try to like get them to switch their agent. So I'm like, okay, well, is your agent sending you out the market listings?
Mm.
No. Okay, cool. Well, so then, dude, that never worked. So then what I started doing is like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to use my old strategies of listen, acknowledge, empathize, and restate, but I'm also going to act like I'm really interested in these people. So what I would do is I would take my notepad and I'd have it in my hand with my pen and paper, just like this. And then when they would come in, I would just say, "Oh, hey, welcome to my open house. My name is Jesse. Are you in the market to buy a house, or are you just the nosy neighbor that I left in like a hanger on your door?" Or and then they'd be like, "Haha, that's funny." They're like, "No, actually, I'm in the market to buy a house." I'm like, "Awesome." I said, I don't know if this is house a fit for you, but it is 3 beds, 2 bath, 600,000, 1,800 square foot. The backyard's killer. Take a look around, do your thing. But if you wouldn't mind before you leave, I would love to ask you 3 specific questions and just to get your feedback.
Mm.
By the way, what's your name? And they'd say, my name's John. So I'd be like, all right, John, blue shirt, all the things, whatever. I'd write it down. So they'd walk around the house, they'd come back, and I'd say, hey, John, what'd you think of the house? And I'd say, what do you think of the condition? And they'd be like, oh, it's great. I'd be like, okay, cool. And I'd say, what do you think of the price? And they'd say, the price, so on and so forth, whatever. I'd say, is this house for you? Are you considering writing an offer? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like literally taking notes like crazy. Like I'm like writing everything down. They think I'm so engaged with them and listening to them, all their things. I'd be like, awesome. I'd say, do you mind if I reach out to your agent and let them and give them this feedback that you just gave me and let them know that you stopped by the open house? Right there, dude. That's the key.
Dang.
Every single one of them were expecting me to like try to get them to sign up or trick them into being their agent. I just shifted the entire conversation and I'm trying to act like I'm aligning with them to help them out, to let them know I'm going to talk to their agent to let them know what they're looking for and whether or not this help. So I'm aligning myself with them on what their needs are. Dude, 50-50 whether or not they said that they had an agent or not. And then if they said, well, I don't have an agent, I'd say, awesome. Based on what you just told me, I have a couple houses in mind I'd love to send over to you. And if you want to see them today, I'll set up the appointment. And so they'd be like, okay, cool. You know, or they'd be like, no, I don't want to, I don't want an
Yeah.
agent, all the things. And then if they said, I don't want an agent or I don't want to work with anyone right now, I'd say, no problem. I'd say, the first step in the process, and I don't know if you've done this, is doing a consultation of knowing how this process works because you are going to get to a point where you are in this position of writing an offer. And I want you to be fully prepared. And if they'd be like, no, 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 I'd say, well, how about I at least refer you over to our lender? So that way, I'd always just like keep backing myself down the path, starting at the highest point of working with them. And many of them actually said, yeah, go ahead and connect me to your lender and then ended up working with us. Lots of them. Because, and then you know what? 2 months later, 2 weeks later, they were writing an offer on a property that happened multiple times. And this was before like Zoom. So a lot of it was like we were trying to get them
Yeah.
in person. And they didn't have time to meet, but a lot of times we would do a consult. I would do a consultation with them in person. Dude, I can literally envision it in my mind right now.
Yeah.
It was like I worked with a lot of women for some reason. I don't know why. It was like the ladies that liked working with me. A couple of guys, I guess, a lot of older women, grandma age. Not like I'm like, I think they just thought I was like their grandson.
Yeah.
And dude, clockwork, boom, 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 boom. So
Well, I know. And
and oh, and then one last thing is I'd always do what you did. I always did the video message at the end.
yep. Which I didn't close anybody, but I know why now looking back at it. One, I didn't really like as much as I was in real estate and was going to try and do deals. I didn't care about it. Like I legit didn't care about it. And that's where our paths kind of crossed, but also inevitably kind of led to what we did where, man, my brain just didn't like I didn't care about the market and scripts like I stressed about it. I hated that like anything that was not natural to me, I can't do. So I envied you and I remember even AB Adam B, I was talking to him a lot at the beginning. A lot of the people listening just don't know who it is, but this dude was a rookie of the year type dude and he killed it at open houses too and both of you guys one had those great kind of like scripts, but they also came across as not script, and the confidence was like oozing out. So when I talked to you guys, it was like you guys got excited about that little script because it worked for you once, I think. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden
Oh,
you're just like pumped up to do it again and again and again.
dude, okay, it's dopamine. It's pure dopamine. So I will tell you the greatest
I
feeling in
never
the
got the
world,
dopamine until
dude.
until the YouTube shit worked. And you talk about
I,
dopamine.
dude, I am right now, dude. I'm almost getting tears in my eyes thinking about this because I'm so excited to have the feeling. But
Mm-hmm.
dude, when you call a for sale by owner and you're like, hey, they're like, I want to see what you're offering. and you're like, cool. What works for you today at 3 or 4? And they say, come on over at 3. Dude, right there, you're like, holy shit, dude. I just set an appointment. You're like, I am freaking ready to, dude, this is amazing. Dude, it is the greatest feeling in the world because all your hard work just paid off, especially when you're calling hundreds of people a day.
Yep.
So when you get to when you're at the elite level, then you just walk in, you're just like, dude, the crazy thing is like all these appointments, never one of them did they ever ask me how many houses I sold because I think I
I
came
got
in.
asked that all the time. We need to touch on that.
Yeah. So I would
Oh,
always come in.
fuck.
So, dude, you know why I'd always ask the sellers at the end, like why they chose to work with me. And all of them said the same thing. They said, because you showed up looking really nice.
Yeah.
You were very professional and your listing presentation was very professional as well.
Mhm.
Because I always made the hard books. So, dude, everyone was comparing you to everyone else. And
Yeah.
I knew exactly what everyone else was doing, dude. I knew they're all getting the same trainings. So I'm like, all right, elevate, elevate, elevate. And then so I still do the same things today. I don't do the hard books because it's a little bit different in this world with digital. But uh, you know, it's just that confidence and, the conversation about commissions and all that stuff. I think that's another key piece of how you can have those conversations and how to delicately handle those things. And yeah, there's a lot of, but what was your question now?
Well, what's funny is this is a podcast that's probably going to turn into a 10-part series because, like, we're at months 0 through 3, and then maybe we go 3 through 6. But in fact, next episode, I recorded what we're going to do. I want to break down the consultations because
Oh yeah.
um, it actually needs its own separate podcast. I've sat through and used to force me to do these things, and I always thought it was stupid. And you told me once, I don't even care if it's my best fucking friend.
Oh
There,
yeah.
because it sets that precedent. So I don't even want to get into it. We'll do the next one because you guys, and then I also sat through obviously Will and Eli in Denver, who've they'll do 3 million in commissions a year. And again, you can have the loud, you can have the marketing, you can have the listings, you can have the cold calling, but it's the way that you treat these clients and the way that you get them initially with tough conversations, with consultations. You set the bar. That's where I personally see the big shift happening is these people who are just ballers and professionals. And I didn't have that. They're the ones doing more transactions that they can handle. And I think it's the people who just kind of taken everything for granted and did their 8, 10, 12 transactions a year just by being somebody. Those are the ones that are going to get hit the hardest.
I know I could probably put together like the most ultimate, course on being a real estate agent
Oh, I know.
and like the true fast start. Dude, this is the thing. I could tell you like all of this that I'm telling you right now, 87% of the agents aren't going to do it.
Right.
It's crazy to me, dude.
Right.
It is crazy. And I think back, like, this is what I was saying at the beginning. Like, you get to this point where you put in all this effort just to get out of like poverty real estate.
Yeah.
And then there's agents right now whose businesses are in the lulls, but they're just sitting at their house watching Netflix. They think the market's going to come back. I saw this, I saw this picture of, the other day and it was like, and it was a real estate agent hoping that a deal comes about, and they're just sitting there, like sitting in traffic. And I'm like, that's so true. Agents are just sitting there, just hoping and thinking that a deal is going to pop out of nowhere by doing nothing.
But they haven't hit their dopamine yet. Like I was in that similar stance because I was next to you and it's like, okay, open house, cold call. And I couldn't quite do it, and even if I did land an appointment, it was just tough mentally, but that's easily, and I mean, overly easily trainable. Like in fact, you started training me to talk a certain way. So it is doable. But I get, some of the mindset. So what that does is it now makes you just kind of show up because at least you're doing something. So I think there's a lot of agents too that just kind of show up, a lot of meetings, a lot of classes, because of that feeling of just doing something. Whereas you've got killers out there who are just doing.
Everything that I just told in that situation, dude, that's $100,000 master's
Easy.
education in real estate. And here's the thing. It took me 10 years to figure all that out, like from real estate or corporate America, all the things. And I give it to you for free. And that's the value people put on it is it's
Mhm.
not, they're like, nah, I just got this for free. They're not going to do shit with it. And maybe one person will. And even if you're an agent right now, I just got off a coaching call and I told all the agents on there, I said, who in here has read the red book? And there was probably like two of them. And I said, at my goal, I want everyone to go read this book.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, whether you're a Keller Williams fan or not, doesn't matter. That book is for everyone.
For everyone.
And especially like, you know, when the market shift, they wrote the book The Shift too. And that's a good book. Like it's a whole series. And that's what I said. People just won't do it. And it's the thing, man. It's crazy.
Yep.
I hear
So
agents right now. I have agents right now. They're like, I can't even find agents to do open houses for my open houses. And I'm like, for the listings, I'm like, hey guys, I have this great open house. My house that I just put in Sherwood. I couldn't find an agent to do it. I'm like, it's going to generate 20 groups through. And all of them are like, you know what they all tell me? I've done all these open houses. I just can't get a buyer out of it. So I'm not
right.
going to do it anymore. So
Right.
then I send them my little training video. I said, this is what you need to do. And
Mm-hmm.
then guess what? They still don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I totally get it. I'm gonna ask you this question. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then I gotta say something. But
Yeah, 4 minutes, by the way.
was there a mistake you made or two at the very beginning, first 3 months, that were probably some of the biggest lessons you made? And while you're thinking about that, if you guys are interested too,
Oh, yeah.
people, this is why when people join our organization at EXP, it's no like pyramid scheme. It's no bullshit. It's that's why they're 10xing and they're scaling and they're growing and they're stepping out of business, is because now you get Jesse's private number. I'm telling you right now, 24/7, this dude's available and he's coaching you up. So then you get my aspect of the marketing side of it. And we're taking these, single agents and teams and 5x, 10xing them. So shoot us an email, info@channeljunkies.com. You can do jackson@realagentnow.com. Our stuff's in the description, but this is why people are joining us like crazy. So if you're interested, but now back to you, Jay Dow, were there some mistakes you made, maybe in those scripts or talking to people that changed your trajectory?
Oh, I would have focused 100% on open houses and for sale by owner as a brand new agent. I never would have joined the team. The team taught me absolutely nothing. And if I was going to join a team, I would make sure every team, dude, we'll go into this next week
Okay,
about
we'll
what I
start
would
with that.
do.
I'm going to write it down, join team,
Yeah, join a team or being a team.
because I think that's a huge question. Should I join a team right out of the way or not? Okay, so keep
Yep.
going.
I do think it's important to join a team, but the right team. And just
Yeah.
because they're the number one team doesn't mean they're anything. There's a lot of things I'd be looking at in that situation. Um, I wouldn't be, I think there's too much access to people anymore, especially with like the cloud brokerages where you can't align with the best of the best and like
Hmm.
fast track your business.
Yeah.
And people think way too small, dude. That's the thing. You know how many people I hear is like, especially coming to EXP, they're like, I really need to join someone local. I really need to join with someone local. And I'm like, dude, that's the biggest mistake you'd ever make.
Hmm.
Like, look at us. Like we joined people out of different states and our business accelerated super quick. And it was the best thing in the world. And so I think people put a lot of limiting mindsets on themselves because the industry has been franchised to death. So they're really stuck in this whole local, I call it the trap model. So,
And focused on just straight up transactional business, just
oh,
X
dude,
amount of transactions this year.
we know there's a couple of people that we know, and
Yeah.
I actually saw him last night, and him and his sister were hosting an open house, and I was like, dude, I'm like, this guy is missing it, man. I feel so bad when you can see the clear path forward for people,
Yeah.
and maybe they're extremely happy, but I can't imagine they are by the decisions they make. I'm like, man, it's so frustrating to me.
Yeah. Well, 0 to 3 months, guys. That's it. Know your
And
shit. Study, get some scripts. What we're gonna do next week is start with, should you go solo, be on a team. Also, you should just bring up your buyer and seller presentations so people can listen to it, but then they can go to the YouTube channel podcast to see some of it if you want. And then, yeah, commission objections and how long you've been in real estate. That shit used to tear me up, man.
oh yeah,
So that'll kind of be like months 0 through 6. But then, yeah, I didn't even get through any of my stuff because you're a mastermind when it comes to like building a real team, VAs, realtor partners, TCs, and then systems. Um, who do you surround yourself with? And then like post closing. So we'll break this down in a bunch of episodes. But
Bone
You guys
bone.
down in the descriptions, our email, Jackson at realagentnow.com, Jesse at realagentnow.com. I need to talk to you boys about blowing up my business. That's how you reach us. And then if you guys are starting to listen to these podcasts again, just go to the Facebook group, free Facebook group, Channel Junkies. Say, hey, the podcast is back up. And then you can
Yep.
post questions there. We'll see them. We'll also answer them on here. I've been getting some of your guys' emails again about questions. I like picking Jesse's brain. We will talk marketing stuff too. So, all right, homies. To the next one.
See ya.
Like.